I always thought my small town was safe, a place where nothing ever happened. That was until I woke up in a nightmare. My head was throbbing, and my vision blurred as I tried to make sense of my surroundings. I was lying on a cold metal table in a dimly lit basement, the smell of antiseptics assaulting my senses. The stark clinical setting screamed hospital, but something was horribly wrong. I had gone out alone. I remembered the drink at the bar, the friendly stranger, and then nothing. As a man, I never worried much about people that I didn't know or being taken advantage of. But now panic was surging through me as I realized I was strapped down, my arms and legs immobile. My heart raced, and I struggled against the restraints, but it was futile. The room was lined with surgical tools, and I could hear the faint sound of footsteps approaching. A masked figure entered, their eyes cold and emotionless. "Ah, you're awake. Good," they said, their voice chillingly calm. "You won't feel much. We're quite skilled at what we do." I tried to scream for help, but my voice was barely a whisper. My mind raced, trying to find a way out of this hell. The figure moved closer, a scalpel glinting in their hand. I braced myself for the pain. But then I noticed the photos. Dozens of them, pinned to a corkboard on the wall. Faces of people who had suddenly gone missing in our town over the past year. Friends, neighbors, now I knew their fate. They had all ended up here, in this basement of horrors. Seeing those pictures made things even more frightening, but it also pushed me to act. Adrenaline surged through me, and in a desperate move, I managed to break one of my restraints. The figure who appeared to be dressed like a dentist lunged at me, but I fought back with every ounce of strength I had left. In the chaos, I knocked over a tray of steely dental and surgical instruments, and the noise seemed to echo endlessly. Somehow, I broke free and stumbled through the maze of corridors, my mind a blur of fear and determination. I could hear the psychotic dentist and a couple of others in a fury behind me, but I didn't chance looking back. I finally bursted through a heavy metal door and into the night air, the cold hitting me like a wave. I knew where I was. I didn't stop running until I reached the police station, my story pouring out in a frantic stream. The authorities acted quickly, but by the time they raided the basement, it was empty. The operation, the people behind it, had vanished into the night. The town was in shock. The missing persons cases that had haunted us for the last year were suddenly explained, but there was no closure. The monsters behind the operation had slipped away, probably setting up somewhere else, preying on other unsuspecting victims. I was hailed as a hero, a survivor. My family was so grateful that I was safe and alive. We all tried to resume a normal, happy life after the crazy ordeal. And for everyone else, I tried to keep a brave face, but deep inside, I couldn't run from the nightmare of what I had seen, the faces on the wall. I knew I had escaped with my life, but a part of me remained trapped in that basement, haunted by the thoughts of those who hadn't been as lucky. And somewhere out there, the basement of lost souls was being reborn, ready to claim more victims to horrifying evils. The thought kept me awake at night. I never liked going to the dentist, but going forward my fear drastically increased. The next time I went to get my teeth cleaned, I saw demons. But they weren't real. It was like PTSD, and I didn't know if things would ever go back to normal for me again.
I've always prided myself on being unflappable, a VP, the first female VP in the company, who could handle any crisis. But when I broke my tooth while out to a late dinner the night before a major presentation, my composure shattered like porcelain. Desperate, I called my dentist on his emergency line, only to find he was out of town. Panic set in. I couldn't face our board with a gap in my smile. After a frantic search, I found an on-call 24-hour dentist who could see me immediately. I was over the moon. Relief was short-lived, however, when I arrived at the address. The neighborhood was run down, the building dilapidated. Stepping carefully out of my very clean and comfortable luxury SUV, I hesitated, staring at the grimy sign swinging above a door that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. But desperation won. Inside, the office was no better. Dusty, with a distinct smell of mildew, it looked like a forgotten set from a horror movie. The dentist, a man with a too-wide smile and a slightly unsettling demeanor, assured me he could fix my tooth in no time. I reluctantly agreed, my mind fixated on the presentation. The procedure was quick, But when he handed me a bottle of pain pills, warning of some potential side effects, I barely listened. I just wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. Back at home, I took one of the pills for the throbbing pain. That's when things began to spiral. The walls seemed to breathe, shadows twisted into sinister shapes. I tried to focus on my presentation, but my mind was a whirlpool of hallucinations. The worst part? I kept seeing the dentist, his wide smile warping into a grotesque grimace, chasing me through endless, dark mazes. I was trapped in a nightmare, my own home turned alien and threatening. Despite the terror, I managed to pull myself together for the presentation. My colleagues commented on my pallor, but I brushed off their concerns. Throughout the meeting, pain throbbed in my jaw, a constant reminder of the state of affairs. Afterward, my mouth felt worse. A glance in the mirror revealed red, angry swelling around the tooth. It was definitely infected. Wow. Finally, 2 days later, I saw my regular dentist. He was appalled at the state of my mouth, prescribing antibiotics and tossing the remaining pain pills out from the other dentist. Concerned, he mentioned something about unlicensed practices and dangerous prescriptions. It sounded like I was on the verge of being both infected and poisoned. It was so damn crazy, and I was grateful that I had seen my normal dentist when I had. As the antibiotics cleared the infection, the hallucinations faded, leaving me to question what had been real and what had been a product of those weird pills. The relief was immense, but the trauma of those surreal visions lingered. I couldn't forget the image of the dirty dentist with his too wide smile. The memory of his disgusting office, the freaky visions, the horrifying chase, they haunted me. I wondered if I'd ever really escaped that dingy room, or if part of me was still trapped there, in the grip of a nightmare, masquerading as a dental emergency. I mean, it was awful. The experience left me wary. It taught me that desperation can lead us into dark, unexpected places. And sometimes the monsters in those places are all too real.